burned off his face, white t-shirt, completely charred. I was born into it. I've been a drag kid my entire life. As a drag kid, you see the wild, crazy paint jobs. Naturally, I always hovered towards the ones that had the most outlandish paint jobs on, not knowing anything about paint, anything about art, drawing, or anything. I just had to go look at that.
Everyone thought they knew what happened to Ryan Evans after counting cars. But the real story is far more surprising, because when the cameras went off and the show went quiet after its 10th season, the internet filled the silence with stories that had almost nothing to do with the truth, with different allegations of embezzlement. Did Ryan really leave the spotlight for good? And what has he been doing since the cameras stopped following him? Join us as we uncover what really happened to Ryan Evans after counting cars. The man everyone is talking about. When Counting Cars aired its final episode in 2021, Ryan Evans didn't make a big deal out of it. There were no emotional goodbye posts, no media tour, and no announcement about his next big TV project. Instead, he simply went back to doing what he'd always loved, working in the paint shop at Count's Customs. That might not sound unusual, but it's actually pretty rare. After spending nearly a decade on national television, many reality stars try to stay in the spotlight. Ryan took the opposite approach. He quietly returned to his craft, and in many ways, that made his story even more interesting. Ryan's official title at Count's Customs is Head Artist and Paint Shop Manager. Basically, that just means he stuck around doing the same thing for over 2 decades without getting fired. When the TV cameras packed up and left, nothing actually changed. He still makes every creative call on every paint job coming through those doors. He paints stuff for random private clients, plus handles the endless mountain of vehicles in Danny Coker's massive Horde, which has over 55 cars and 70 bikes at last count. The show was always just background noise anyway, because actual work never stopped for a single second. In the years following the finale, Ryan began making increasingly regular public appearances at car shows and industry events. He showed up at the first SEMA show party in Las Vegas in October 2022, was interviewed on the floor by Autobodynews.com, and appeared on the Collision Vision podcast in March 2023, offering one of the more candid windows into his professional mindset since the show went off air. He also became part of Count's Customs Network, the shop's new digital presence across TikTok and YouTube, where the crew began posting build content directly to fans without a network middleman. Ryan never stopped sharing what he was working on. In early 2024, he posted a short Instagram video showing himself carefully taping flame designs onto a black motorcycle frame before finishing it with a deep purple paint job. The clip gave fans a close-up look at the work that made him one of the best painters in the business, something the TV show only briefly touched on. That post said a lot about Ryan. Instead of chasing viral moments or trying to stay in the headlines, he let his work speak for itself. In an era when social media is often about getting attention, Ryan seemed perfectly happy to show people what he actually does best. But while Ryan was doing what he had always done, the internet had already decided a very different version of his story was more interesting. The rumors that followed him out the door. When Counting Cars came to an end, the internet wasted no time filling in the blanks. Social media and comment sections quickly filled with theories, while clickbait videos claimed to know the real reason Ryan Evans was no longer on television. Before long, one rumor started spreading faster than the rest. Some people claimed Ryan had stolen money from Count's Customs, and that his absence from TV was connected to a secret criminal investigation. It was a dramatic story, but there was one major problem. There was no evidence to support it. Like many online rumors, it spread because people kept repeating it, not because it was true. Another rumor claimed that Danny Coker had fired Ryan because he couldn't keep up with production deadlines. On the surface, it sounded believable. Ryan's work has always been detailed, and quality paint jobs take time. But for people who knew how Count's Customs operated, the story didn't really add up. Ryan had spent more than 20 years building a reputation for his craftsmanship, and that's exactly why customers trusted him. The rumors started falling apart as soon as someone from inside the shop spoke up. Horny Mike took to Instagram and made it clear that Ryan was still part of the Count's Customs team and wasn't going anywhere. It was a short message, but it said everything fans needed to know. More importantly, it showed something the rumors had completely missed. While people online were busy making up stories, the people who actually worked together every day were standing by each other. Sometimes, the simplest answer turns out to be the right one. The confusion was reportedly compounded by a real and separate scandal at the shop that had nothing to do with Ryan. A former accounting employee named Joseph Frontiera was accused in 2017 of allegedly siphoning approximately $75,000 from Count's Customs accounts for personal use. According to Hot Cars, the shop also reportedly pursued legal action against the staffing agency that placed Frontiera, alleging they failed to disclose his background. Ryan held no accounting role and was never named in any related proceedings. The internet, however, was not always careful about keeping those two stories separate. By that point, the internet had already made up its mind. The real question was whether anyone from Count's Customs was finally going to set the record straight. Danny Coker shut it all down. In April 2025, journalist Jody visited Count's Customs to see for herself what was really happening behind the scenes, and she found something much less dramatic. Ryan Evans and Horny Mike were both at work, carrying on with their normal routines, while Danny Coker was in his studio. The visit painted a very different picture from the one the internet had been telling. Rather than the team falling apart, it was business as usual. Danny Coker shut down the rumors immediately, calling the whole stealing story complete garbage. He even pointed out that Ryan Evans had worked beside him for 25 years and was basically actual family, not just a co-worker. Media outlets picked up the response, pointing out how the boss destroyed the fake internet stories without flinching. They mentioned that he did not sound defensive or stressed out. He just stated the facts, leaving zero space for people to keep making up lies. What really stood out was the way Danny reacted. He wasn't speaking like a TV personality or someone trying to manage a public relations problem. He sounded like a friend who'd simply had enough. After working alongside Ryan for more than 20 years, hearing strangers spread stories about him clearly didn't sit well with Danny. You could tell he took it personally. Ryan wasn't just another guy in the shop. They'd spent decades working together, and over that time he'd become family. That's why Danny's response resonated with so many people. It felt honest, not rehearsed. The visit blew up every myth circulating on the internet. Count's Customs never shut down. Nobody got dragged off to jail, checked into rehab, or went into hiding. The garage stayed open the entire time, taking custom orders, showing up to events, and putting out content on its own digital network. Every wild story sold by clickbait creators for years was, start to finish, complete fan fiction. And while the rumors were being demolished in real time, Ryan's actual track record had already been making the case for him for years. The award the internet forgot to talk about. In 2015, while Counting Cars was at the height of its popularity, Ryan Evans brought one of his biggest projects to the SEMA show in Las Vegas. For anyone in the custom car world, SEMA is one of the biggest stages you can be on. It's where builders bring their best work, hoping to stand out among some of the most talented people in the industry. Ryan did exactly that. His custom 1973 Buick Riviera boat tail turned heads throughout the show, and his paintwork earned some of the event's highest recognition. The Riviera is not the kind of car people can appreciate with one quick look. The deep black paint, the red and silver details, the pinstriping, the silver leaf, and the custom graphics all worked together. The closer people got, the more details they noticed. It was the kind of paint job that made people stop, walk around the car a second time, and wonder how someone had the patience to pull it off. The recognition didn't stop with the show. Airbrush Action magazine chose Ryan's Riviera as its best in show, a huge moment for any custom painter. When you're competing against some of the best talent in the industry, awards like that don't come easily. It's the kind of achievement that tells customers and everyone else in the custom car world that you're one of the best at what you do. 3 specific builds show what Ryan Evans was actually doing while the cameras rolled. First came the 1981 Chevy C10 Vampire van, a vehicle Danny owned since 1982 that got loaded up with custom vampire murals, real silver leaf, and hand-drawn flames. Then there was the 1971 Superfly Cadillac from Season 3, covered in gold leaf and classic pinstriping. Finally, the Boat Tail Riviera stands as one of the best custom paint jobs in the entire country. The internet rumors completely ignored all of this, mostly because real talent is impossible to fake. People online really spent months inventing financial crime thrillers while completely ignoring decades of high-end custom paint sitting right in front of their faces. Priorities, right? Behind the awards and the builds was a man whose private life was as carefully protected as his paint jobs were publicly celebrated. The private life he always protected. One of the defining features of Ryan Evans on Counting Cars was precisely what made him a difficult target for tabloid culture. He was genuinely private. In a genre built on oversharing, Ryan drew a clean line between his professional persona and his personal life, and never crossed it on camera. Fans watched him trade jokes with Horny Mike and produce paintwork that left viewers rewinding their screens, but most of them knew almost nothing about what his life looked like when the shop lights went off. Ryan's personal life has been just as low-key as the rest of his career. He married Dana Pauly in March 2015, and the two have kept their relationship almost entirely out of the spotlight ever since. Together, they built a blended family. Dana has a son named Logan, while Ryan has 2 children from a previous relationship, Kylie and Austin. On the rare occasions Ryan has spoken about his family, he's always done so with warmth and respect. Beyond that, he prefers to keep that part of his life private. His wife and children never became part of Counting Cars, and that seems to have been a conscious decision. For Ryan, home has always been something to protect, not something to put on display. The little things Ryan has shared over the years tell you a lot about who he is. His favorite car has always been a 1969 Chevelle, a love that goes all the way back to his childhood. Around Las Vegas, he's often seen driving a custom 1969 Cadillac coupe instead of something flashy or over the top. His co-workers also joke about how much he loves cats, to the point that it even made its way into his official Counts Customs biography. Beyond the shop, Ryan has invested time in teaching. He has hosted airbrush workshops designed to bring upcoming artists into the discipline that shaped his own career, and has appeared at pinstriping events alongside industry peers. Car TV shows noted that Ryan also hosted workshops helping people develop airbrushing skills, an investment in the craft that suggests a man who sees his knowledge as something worth passing forward. That is not the profile of someone who had burned bridges or walked away from the world that made him. Everything Ryan has built can be traced back to a much earlier chapter of his life. So how did a military kid end up becoming one of the most respected custom painters in America? How he built the talent that got him there. Ryan Evans was born on January 3, 1974, into a career military family that never stayed in one place long enough to put down permanent roots. His early years were spent in Frankfurt, Germany, where his father's service took the family. Most children of military households develop a comfort with transience, learning to adapt rather than attach. Ryan adapted by finding something he could take anywhere: a paintbrush, an airbrush, and an obsession with the idea that ordinary objects could become extraordinary through the right set of hands. The spark reportedly came from a single airbrushed t-shirt his parents bought him as a child, with his name painted on it in custom lettering. He fixated on that shirt in a way that stayed with him for years, long after most childhood impressions fade. By the time his family eventually settled in Killeen, Texas, he was teaching himself to airbrush in his parents' garage. After graduating from Frankfurt American High School in 1992, Ryan spent years building the foundation that the cameras would never fully capture. He sought out mentors, including a Texan artist who taught him the discipline of watching before touching, of understanding the structure of a vehicle before ever laying a single stroke of color. In 1996, he moved to Los Angeles to be closer to the custom car culture that had become his entire world. 3 years later, Shannon Aikau, Counts Customs' lead motorcycle builder, spotted Ryan's work rolling around Vegas and introduced him to Danny Coker. Danny saw the work and immediately recognized the person behind it. According to Counts Customs' official biography, by 1999, Ryan Evans was officially part of the crew, a position he has held without interruption for over 2.5 decades. That continuity is not common in the automotive customization world, where talented artists cycle between shops, go independent, or burn out entirely. Ryan stayed because the fit was genuine, and because the work was always the point. That foundation, built over decades before a single camera ever pointed at him, is exactly what survived the end of the show. The legacy and what the future holds. Counting Cars dragged on for 10 seasons and 184 episodes on the History Channel, starting back in August 2012, and finally wrapping up in December 2021. For almost a decade, the show dumped high-end custom paint jobs onto TV screens, introducing average viewers to a level of detail most people never knew existed. It launched careers, built a massive fan base, and somehow gave Las Vegas something to talk about besides slot machines and cheap buffets. Through every single episode, Ryan Evans stayed glued to the paint booth, pumping out the only actual artwork that made the show worth turning on in the first place. The History Channel never bothered to officially cancel Counting Cars, leaving the show in total television purgatory. Fans still scream for new episodes online, but nothing has aired since 2021, making the silence pretty much a done deal. Ryan Evans never threw a fit about it either. He just stayed active through the Counts Customs network and public appearances, keeping people posted without promising a TV comeback that obviously is not happening. Estimates put Ryan's net worth somewhere around $3 million, built up over a decade of TV checks, side projects, custom paint gigs, and his main gig at Counts Customs. Sure, that looks tiny compared to Danny Coker's reported $15 million empire, but it proves he built a career on actual skill instead of reality TV fame. Ryan never cared about chasing spotlight attention anyway. Give the guy an airbrush, a paint booth, and a client who actually respects real custom work, and he is good to go. What makes his position genuinely uncommon in the reality television landscape is that he survived it intact. He emerged from counting cars without a damaged reputation, a public feud, or a scandal that followed him home. Slash Gear noted that counting cars continues to rank in higher demand than 94.7% of all U.S. reality TV shows, a legacy that Ryan contributed to in every episode he appeared in. His standing at Count's Customs did not change when the show ended because his character did not change. The rumors tried to rewrite the story. The facts never cooperated. Ryan Evans did not crash, burn, or reinvent himself after Counting Cars went off the air. He just kept working. The same guy who started out spraying motorcycles in a garage down in Killeen, Texas, is still holding a spray gun today. Danny Coker calls him family, and he still shows up to the same Las Vegas shop every single morning. Win a trophy at SEMA or get famous on TV, clients still hire him because he knows how to lay down paint. The TV crews packed up their gear and vanished. But the job never changed. He stayed in the paint booth doing the exact same thing he always did. Ryan Evans built a career turning rusted metal into something worth admiring. And when the noise came for his name after Counting Cars ended, he let his work speak louder than any rumor ever could. He is still at Count's Customs, still painting and still standing. Should the History Channel bring the show back? Drop your thoughts below. Like, share, subscribe, and tap the next video on your screen.